Hi, everybody. I hope you're doing well. I had some, what should I say, life disruptions going on over the last few months. And I appreciate your faith in me if you're still with me as a patron. Um, I've had a topic brewing in my little noggin here for several months now, and I'll just call it Does Art Really Save Lives? I've seen bumper stickers to that effect. Art saves lives. And of course, if you're going to take a very literal standpoint, apparently, I could be flippant and say that art doesn't save lives unless you're standing behind a bronze statue when a shooting is going on or something wacky like crazy like that. But I will say, now that I'm done being flippant and crass and all that stuff, I will say that there's no getting away from death. Obviously, it's just a matter of when it happens. But so it's not a matter of literally prolonging life, but it's a matter of enhancing life. And there's this kind of creation destruction cycle that I've seen and heard comments about. Um, One of the things that came to mind is sometimes people, and Carl Jung had a discussion of this. He found with his patients that when they had an underlying problem, that could get really bad and obsessive about it. But then if another problem came in, all of a sudden the original problem goes away and they've got a new problem to deal with. So it's almost as if you take on a bigger problem, hopefully a better problem, and then the what had been a problem kind of slips down by the wayside. Um, I can think of, and I'll give a trigger warning. I've already mentioned death, of course, so I hope you don't mind that. Honestly, I'm sure you can handle it. I have faith in your ability to deal with heavy topics. But my sister, uh, she's in her 60s now. So this happened, yeah, about 50 years ago. She confessed, she told my other sister and I that when she was a teenager, she was actually getting toward being suicidally depressed. But oddly enough, she kind of did the opposite thing and became unexpectedly pregnant. So there's this kind of razor's edge where you can destruct or create. And that's in a very literal sense in my sister's case. She created an adorable little problem known as my nephew. I became an auntie at age 10, and she was in her last year of high school. And of course, it was a big deal for a kid growing up Catholic and all that stuff. But, my adorable nephew is now almost 50 years old and he's a good guy. And I'm, glad she went through the ordeal of being a single mom instead of the alternative, which was, again, that was leering, it was a possibility in her life. Um, and I have so I'll lighten it up with a more fun anecdote. Um, Again, this is a situation with my dad with his second wife. They had been going to visit her mom, who, the old proverbial I've fallen and I can't get up situation, right? Elderly mom needing help, refusing to leave the house she'd lived in for 60 years. So they're traveling from the southwestern US to the northeastern US bunches of times. And they finally go, okay, look, we're going to live with you for a year. And at the end of that year, you have to decide whether you're going to stay in that house without us or go to a nursing home. So my dad lived with his mother-in-law for a year, and it was not a fun experience for him. He was the outsider. He was the second husband. He was not acceptable to his mother-in-law, apparently. And it almost destroyed his marriage. I mean, it was really a difficult situation for him, for all of them. And he told me later that, yeah, they were really contemplating divorce. But instead of that, what apparently they didn't divorce, what he did instead was get creative. He, in this tiny, tiny little town in Western Pennsylvania, he set up poetry readings. He formed a book club. He kept himself sane during this year-long ordeal. So, really art in this sense of, poetry as art and literature as art, um, probably had a hand in saving their marriage. So, um, yes, I do know one young man who did not do well with what his demons. And there are, I'm not going to go into it, but there are literally tragic instances of people who do art and it didn't save them, so that's a thing too. And I want to acknowledge that and actually honor that, because that's, it's a creative choice that people make. It's can be horrific for friends and family, but uh, again, sometimes, it's understandable, or it can be, hopefully. But really, in terms of, saving lives, yeah, sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. But in terms of making life worth living, that's a done deal. I mean, that to me, that's quite obvious. Um, in my own life, of course, it's the staff of life. I mean, it's like, I mean, I know bread's the staff of life, but um, art has made my life worth living, and I hope it's contributing to the expansiveness of your world as well. Um, so, don't want to get too tear jerky or anything, um, or too flippant. I can be both. But I really hope that art has, you know, enhanced your life to the point of it making a difference in your life and everybody else's life around you. And I kind of suspect that it has, in a good way. So with that happy note, I will uh, I'll stop this recording. I'll make it try to make it short and sweet, because I know people don't have excess of time, don't have a lot of time in their hands. So thanks again for bearing with me. I will endeavor to accelerate my video making schedule, and I definitely appreciate your time, attention, patronage, and I just appreciate you and anything you do, whether it's creative or destructive, because sometimes destruction is part of the creative process. Take it easy. Bye.